Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today sees the return of one of the world's greatest Sudoku setters, and I suspect one of the most brilliant people on the planet, Totally Normal Cat. Now, Totally Normal Cat has sort of disappeared from the Sudoku scenes the last couple of months, but I noticed this puzzle, which is called More, appeared on Logic Masters Germany just recently, and yeah, I've been champing at the bit to have a go at it, and today is the day. So we'll see how difficult it is. On Logic Masters Germany, it has 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty, and I think a 99% approval rating. So all you need to know is that it's likely to be awesome. And speaking of awesome puzzles, actually, do have a look. The comments on yesterday's puzzle by Ard van der Wetering well, they indicate, I think, that there's something going on with that puzzle. It was an absolutely brilliant puzzle, but people are saying that they never really understood set theory, so set equivalence theory, this sort of new, very powerful technique in Sudoku solving. And people are saying that that puzzle really helped them to understand how set theory works. So I'll try and remember to put a card on the screen, but it's basically yesterday's video. Now, anything else to mention? The Witness. Some of you are asking when I'm going to next stream The Witness. The answer is I don't know quite yet. I have an incredibly busy week coming up, full of things, I'm afraid, that are not Sudoku related. So I think getting out the daily video is going to be a challenge enough, and I suspect it might be the weekend before I can stream the Witness again. Keep an eye on Twitter. As soon as I know, I will announce it there. And the only other thing I wanted to say is do help us get towards 400,000. We are really within touching distance. 400,000 subscribers on the channel. If you like the channel, please do subscribe. And if you're a patron of the channel, check out Looney Tunes, our new Sudoku hunt over there. It's getting rave reviews, and I think you'll enjoy it. You have to work out, well, the cartoon characters are fighting over a sandwich. I will say no more. Now, let's get on to Totally Normal Cat's puzzle, and I'll read you the rules, which I think are fairly standard. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow's circle. A cell containing an opaque grey square must contain an even digit, so those two have to be even, and a cell containing an opaque grey circle must contain an odd digit, so this is an odd digit. And if you're not familiar with arrows, let's just have a look at this arrow here. Basically, whatever this circle here is the sum of the 2 digits along the arrow. So if that was I don't know, a 3 and that was a 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, not 9, 8, and that's what we should put in the circle. So that's how arrows work. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that, but I did somehow. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video. The trick is to get rid of all the pencils around my desk. Now, let's get cracking. And let's not get distracted. So, I say let's get cracking, but firstly we're going to have to see where the weakness in the puzzle is. And by weakness I mean what cells are under more pressure than others. We've got 4 arrow cells in row 2, but that's fairly useless. I mean, if we treat these dominoes together, the minimum digits we could put on those squares would be 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 sum to 10. So that means that the circles, these 2 circles, must sum to at least 10, but that doesn't actually tell us anything about each individual circle, so that's probably not the break-in. Holy moly. There's not much here, is there? We've got 4 arrow digits in box 3. Syzygy of arrows in row 2. Maybe I've got to use the short stubby arrows. That might be an idea. I'm just gonna scan for a bit longer though before I hone in on that, because I'm hoping what I'm going to find is sort of a row or column that has an unusual number of arrow cells, but I don't, or a box even. I've got lots of boxes that have 4 arrow cells in them, but I think that's as high as the count goes. I mean, that means that this circle here has to be at least a 5, because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 being 10. This is sort of 10 divided by 2 is 5, so This is at least a 5. I'm not even sure that's worth pencil marking. Okay, let's have a look at the syzygy here. And the only thing I'm thinking here is that this cell and this cell are obviously the same digit, because whatever I put there, we know cells along an arrow sum to that arrow circle, so that's the same digit as this one. I'll make those, what colour should we use today? I will use, these are the big decisions in life. Green. I'm going to use green. Now, that means that green appears in one of those 3 cells. Now, do we know anything? I don't think we know anything actually more than that. We've got another short stubby arrow here, so one of those cells is up there. We've got this sort of tuning fork arrangement coming out of this circle. Okay, there's something perhaps. Those 3 cells are quite restricted in box 3. That might be interesting. Yeah, okay, let's actually just start with the circle. So the circle digit here, let's ask where that goes in box 3, because I think the answer is in not many places. I think 2 places only. And that's because, obviously by Sudoku, you can't put the purple digit in these 3 squares. You also can't put the purple digit on an arrow that extends, or a 2-cell arrow at least, that extends from the purple circle, because then the other digit on that arrow would have to be a 0. And here is a knowledge bomb from Cracking the Cryptic. You can't put 0 in a normal Sudoku. So all of those squares are not purple, and that means purple is in one of those 2 positions. And if purple was here, it would be even. Okay. What about those 2 squares then? So they can't go there. That's interesting. Right, okay, sorry. There was a pregnant pause there where my brain had to catch up with whatever this meant, but I think my brain has caught up. Let's just look at this. Let's look at this domino and ask where it goes in box 3. The answer is not in whatever is in this square and this square obviously can't go in the same row of the Sudoku. Now, we know one of these 2 digits is purple. And that means that I must put a yellow digit on an arrow in box 3, because I can't hide them both in those 2 cells, because one of those 2 cells is purple. So although I could make, let's imagine this was purple, I could make this square yellow, but then I'd still have to put a yellow on one of the arrows. Now if there's a yellow on one of the arrows, what does that mean the other cell on that arrow must be? So if that's yellow, what's this cell? Well, it must be the other yellow digit, because we know that this domino here adds up to this. So if let's actually do an example. If this is a 5 and that's a 2, and let's say I managed to work out there's a 2 there, well clearly those 2 digits have to be the same in order to add up to the same number. So I think what this means is that one of these arrows, not necessarily this one of these arrows contains both yellow digits. Now, I suspect the next question is which one? It's a lot. So if this was yellow, that would force green and purple as well. Let me just think about this, sorry. So if this is yellow, you can see that because then neither of these squares could be green, because obviously whatever's in these two squares see green here. So if these are both yellow, green is there, purple is here, so purple gets transposed up here. Is that a problem? Is it a problem for purple to appear in a set of digits with orange? Not at all, I don't think. We don't know anything about the size of orange, do we? No. Sorry, I'm not quite understanding this. I don't think I'm going to be able to disambiguate this. Maybe we've got to have a look further down the grid. So let's... Maverick's just taken off. Unsurprising. We're getting some new viewers who say, why do I keep talking about Maverick? Well, it's a very old reference to Top Gun, where Maverick, Tom Cruise character, always used to buzz the control tower. So that seems to be what happens in my study here with our local Maverick, who often posts comments on the videos. This is horrible. This stuff down here is all horrible. There is nothing going on. I don't like this, but what I mean by nothing going on is I can't see how these arrows down here, I mean, it's almost like the causality needs to be the other way round. I need to work out what goes on at the top to figure out what on earth is going on at the bottom, because there's just not enough of a restriction at the bottom of the grid to impact the top of the grid yet. So maybe I've got to do more at the top of the grid, which means what? Which means what? What about this arrow? So what about that domino there? That domino, where does that go in box 3? That doesn't go there. Yes. Okay, that is interesting. In the look, let's make that. Oh no, I shouldn't use red. That's terrible. I'm going to use blue. Now let's go back to what I was looking at before. I was so rudely interrupted by my brain. Now we know that this yellow domino here is either these two squares or it's these two squares. Now let's just imagine it's these two squares, because it's not, and let me show you why. If it's these two squares and they are yellow, we know now green is here, and we know purple is here. So this blue domino here has to go in those two squares, because blue is not green, it's not purple, and it's not yellow. It sees all of those in the row. So that has to be a blue domino. But now look what's happened. Blue is adding up to purple, and blue is adding up to green. Now if that's the case, blue and green are the same number, and that won't work. So this is wrong, and that means I've got to unwind all of that. No, I want to retain that blue colouring, because yes, this is interesting, isn't it? Because now we've proved yellow is definitely not up there, and then as we know that there's a yellow on an arrow, this is the yellow arrow, which means that yellow, hang on a minute, that means two yellows are up there with an orange. I've not got a very good way of pencil marking that. Right, okay, but we can go further than that, because those two can't both be yellow. Because if they're both yellow, what that's telling us is that yellow is adding up to orange because of the arrow. But that would mean that that orange shell there is axiomatically equal to purple, because two yellows are adding up to purple, and if two yellows also add up to orange, those two digits would be the same. This is just, I mean, it's magical. It is magical that you can do this sort of thing with a few scraggly arrows in rows 1, 2 and 3. I mean, this is totally normal cat to a T. You are just in the presence of a genius, and you need to You need to, you know, he or she or they, that they've gifted us the ability to just see into their minds for a moment, and it's really a privilege. Now, how do we make use of this? So we now know this square. Because those are not both yellow, we know that square is yellow. Therefore, it's not orange. So now we've got a situation where yellow, which is on this arrow, is equal to the sum of orange and the other cell on this arrow. This is getting confusing now. So that means, let's just put a number in here just so we can understand a bit about what this means. Let's put a number in there and let's make this a 1/6 arrow. So now we're saying that the 6 must be in this digit because we're heading towards a higher digit. There must be a 1 in one of those two. Let's just put it there. That would be a 5, and then that would be a 5, and that would be a 5. And this could be correct. And then 7 would be adding up those digits, which would then have to be 3, 4, and 1, 6. So that would be a 1/6. That would be this could actually be correct. Okay, all right, but that was just basic. I just wanted to get a feel for how this arrow was working. So what have we now got? So now can we say more about blue then? We know this is yellow. We know we can't double blue this arrow, because if we double blue it, we've got a situation again when green and purple are the same digit. So that means blue, that means these two squares are a blue-purple pair. Because if blue can't go in those three, it can't be in yellow, and we can't put both blues on this arrow. One blue must be in one of those squares, and one purple must be in one of those squares, which means we can remove green, put blue into both of these, I think. And that means green, which is a single. Right, okay, so this is one green and the other blue, which we've not used in these squares. This is getting absurd now. Right. Yes, it is getting absurd, but I can unabsurd it slightly, because now you can't actually put both blues up here, can you? Because if you do that, if this is 2 blues and that's 2 blues, you've got to put 2 blues in this string of digits. You can put 1 in here. But blue can't be the same as green, and blue can't be the same as orange, because blues see orange and green in their row. So that means this square, because we definitely know there's a blue on this arrow, that square cannot be blue, and that means this square is purple, this square is blue. Wow! Wow, which means blue is even. But we don't know which of those two squares it is. Bobbins. Now, have we learnt enough now to use the bottom of the grid? I really fear we haven't, actually. This is quite terrifying. I've had like nearly 20 minutes at this. I've done some very interesting colouring. I've now learnt purple is down there, which is about the most useless thing in Christendom. I've learnt there's a blue up here. I've learnt this is blue, but I don't know which blue it is. Is that worth might be worth pencil marking actually as a blue, because that whichever one of these is blue appears here. So I'm wondering now if we have to. Yeah, okay. This cannot be too low a digit now, can it? And I say that because if you try a 5 in this cell, now those 4 cells have to be the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4. But what's orange now? Because remember, orange, it sort of sits between these two digits, doesn't it? So if this, when we did the example where we had 6 and 1 into these squares, because you've got to put 6, the higher digit from here, in this circle, orange lies between those digits, and therefore it's definitely lower than purple. So if you do go 5 here, you've got to have 5 low digits that are lower than 5 in box 3. That's not possible. So that's not 5, and it may not be able to be 6. If you put 6 in there, now these cells have to be 1, 2, 4 and 5. This square has to be lower than 6 and not those digits. That has to be 3. So that would be a 3. Say that would be a 3. Something about this doesn't feel right. No, this is not right due to parity, quite apart from hang on a second. This doesn't work. There's something going on with parity here. I just got to get my head around it. We've got, I mean, this doesn't work for the reason that we can rule this out sort of by going through an exhaustive process of the options. So we know that 6, which is the sum of these two digits, is either 1, 5 or 2, 4. Well, if you put the high digit in here and try a 5, and a 5 and a 1 plus 3 does not equal the right number, and similarly a 4 and a 2 plus a 3, well, 2 plus 3 does not equal 4, and 1 plus 3 does not equal 5. But it's something to do with the parity of this digit being wrong, because when this is an even number, the difference between these two digits is always even. So you have an even digit here, an even digit here. That means this needs to be even. So this has the same parity as that, is what I'm wondering. Let me just check this. Is this nonsense or is it correct? So if that is a 7, then you know that these two digits, the difference between the two digits adding up to 7, is always going to be an odd number, because you're adding an odd and an even number. So the difference is odd. And that means the difference between this circle and whatever the other digit that's yellow is on this arrow must also be odd. So yes, orange is odd. So this, I've got no way of pencil marking this, by the way. But basically these two squares have the same parity. And we know, actually I just ruled out 6. 6 doesn't work, so I'm not putting 6 in there. That's 7, 8, 9. And this has the same, well, it's still not good, is it? These squares we don't know yet. But we know that this, if this is 7 or 9, this is odd. If this is 8, this is 2, 4 or 6. Now I can't do this. Can I do the same there? Oh, this is getting monstrously complicated now. And I'm getting confused with my pencil marks, because only one of these goes up here, doesn't it? Only one of these, and then the other one transposes down there onto an even digit. Now, if there's a way of proving that that digit is the same parity as that, we are good to go, aren't we? So that's the task, I think. Is there some reason that whatever the parity of purple is, let me think about this for a second. Whatever the parity of purple is carries over here. I'm not quite seeing it. I'm not quite seeing it. Do we know anything about... Maybe it'll help if we try and just put an example in here. Let's make this 6 and let's make this 2, 4. Although maybe that's a bad example. So then we know that this is always adding 2 even digits together. And this digit would be even, obviously. So maybe I should have used a different example. Let's use 7 and 3, 4. Whoopsie. And have a think about that. So here we're saying that this 7's a bit high. Let's use 5 and 2, 3. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some clarity on this. So if we use 5 and 2, 3, what we're saying now is that this domino is the sum of either 5 plus 2 or 5 plus 3. I'm not sure that's enough, is it? I want it to be enough, but I'm not sure it is enough. Am I missing something there? This would be a really clever way of forcing at least something in the top of the grid, which is where I want things to be forced. So this becomes a 5. Maverick's getting lower and lower, distracting me as much as possible. Do I know? I don't think I know which of these digits goes up here. In which case I don't think I know. I mean, obviously I know the even digit would go here. No. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's it. That's it. I'm being so slow today. I'm so sorry. Right. The fact that this is even is enough for us to know that this is even, because we just sort of run the logic in reverse, don't we? I can delete this example, I think, because the point is as follows. Let us consider whether this is an odd or an even digit and think about the effect that has on this domino. Let's try it first with an odd digit here. We then know that this is an even and an odd digit, but we know the even digit is blue and therefore is there. It's hypothecated to this square, it must be. And that means the difference between these two digits, or these two digits have the same parity, is key. They have the same parity, they go in those squares. If they have the same parity, whether they're both odd or both even, they add up to an even number. Now let's try it with even digits. It's much easier to see. If this is an even digit, it's either the sum, it can't be the sum of 2 odd digits, because this then would have no possible value. So if this is even, this is the sum of 2 even digits, but that means those 2 digits are even, adding up to an even digit. So it's actually much simpler than well, it's not simple, it's far from simple. To get to this point is, I think, incredibly complicated. But if you get to this point, you then should be quicker than me at deducing that this domino here, the digits in this domino have the same parity, and therefore this square is not 7 or 9 and is 8. Therefore I have 2 digits in the grid and I feel better about myself. And therefore that square is a 2, 4 or 6. It's not an 8. No. Ooh, okay. And we don't know what this is, do we, in terms of the sum? Because no, we actually don't. At least I don't think we do. Now pausing as I try and work out what the implication of this is. Does the fact we now know these are 8s affect anything significant in the bottom of the grid? Don't think so. It'd be nice Yeah, I was about to say, it would be nice if I could get some more even digits in column 6, and I can get one more, because I proved earlier that orange is the same parity as purple. So that square is a 2, 4, or a 6 as well, which means that square is a 2, 4, or 6. So I have got 2 orange digits here. Or not 2 orange digits, I've got 2 even digits here and here. So this is a 2, 4, or a 6. And that means what? I feel I should know what this means. I feel I'm being incredibly slow again now. Oh, Simon, come on. Get a grip. What does this mean? I've now got 3 even digits in box 3. That does mean something useful. Right, let's look at these 2 arrows. These 2 arrows now, each individually is summing to 8. Now, the only ways of making 8 in 2 cells are 1, 7, 3, 5 or 2, 6. Well, 2, 6 is now impossible because that can't be double 4. So these squares are all odd digits, and that feels like it might matter. So actually, now we know those are odd digits. Good grief. Good grief. Well, we now know this digit is, well, it's got to be a higher version of that, hasn't it? So if orange is 2, and this is, oh, hang on, that doesn't work. I was just wondering whether I could take the 3. I obviously can't take the 3. I have to take 2 of the digits. So yes, right. It's, the light is dawning. So let's look at this string of digits. This string of digits is taking the lower of which of these 2 and putting it on the arrow, and the higher one is the sum. So it must be, as the combinations for this arrow are either 1, 7 or 3, 5, this square is a 5 or a 7. And there's a 1 or a 3 along here. And the 1 or the 3, if it's... Do we know what we're adding to what here? So if this is a 7... Yeah, okay, if this is a 7, we know that the other digit here is a 1, because it's 7 plus 1 equals 8. So if there is a 1 in there, the digit that's being added is a 6. If it's 5 plus 3 here, 5 here, 3 here, the digit that's being added, it must be a 2. And that means orange is not 4, because it's definitely 2 or 6. Now, what does that mean? Blue, 1 blue, which is these digits. Oh, green, okay, this, I've got a 5, 7 pair, that's interesting. Green is the high digit here, because it's the sum of both blues. So green can't be 3 or 1 here, because both blues can't be low enough, because we're adding up to 8 again. This is 1, 7 or 3, 5. It's the same logic as with the yellow and the oranges. That is right, isn't it? I think it is right. Yeah, because if you try and make green 3, you're going to be having to put 5 on the arrow, which is nonsense. So yeah, this is 5 or 7. These squares are therefore... They're taking a 1, yeah, okay, it's exactly the same logic. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 6 combination in this box. Now that means those squares have become a 4, 8, 9 triple. That means that that square is not a 4. I suppose, yeah, okay, and that makes sense because the corollary of what we've been doing is that we know that this arrow contains a 2 or a 6. So that's the even digit that must correspond to this square. Good grief. And this square... is the low digit that is not, that's on this arrow. So it's a 1 or a 3. This digit is a 5 or a 7. And now what have we got? The answer is, oh, 9. It must be in one of those two squares, I suppose. Oh, in fact, look, this is actually just a 4-9 pair now, because everything else in the box has sort of got enough partners that we know where it goes. There's a 1, 3, 5, 7 quadruple and a 2, 6 pair and an 8 that we've worked out. So this must be a 4-9 pair. This is a 1, 3, 5, 7. This is still not enough, is it? It's nowhere near. So, okay, so I think we have to do, maybe it's column 6. I started to look at that. This square's even. So this square's 2, 4, or 6. So, right, well here is a simple point which might matter. Is it possible to construct an arrow clue that contains no even digit? No, it's not, is it? If this is an odd number, it must be the sum of an even and an odd number, and if it's an even number, that's enough even numbers for the column anyway. So these 3 squares definitely contain an even number. In fact, we now know they contain an even and 2 odds, don't we? Because they can't contain more than 1 even. But we still don't know the order, but we therefore know these 3 squares are all odd. Oh, please don't tell me I have to get rid of my colouring. I'm now worried that this is suddenly going to become a parity problem. But this is a... Yeah, doesn't that mean this is a 9? Because I've got a 1, 3, 5, 7 quadruple in box 2. So this square can... Now we've worked out this is odd, it can only be a 9. Now those 2 squares can't be 9. This is completely crazy. Oh, now I've got 3. I've got 3 odd digits down here. 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9 into that one. Nine in box 8 can't go on an arrow, and it can't go in those 3 squares. So 9 is in one of 2 places. Oh, I was about to say 8 is really restricted as well, but I'm not sure it is quite as restricted, because this arrow can't be 9, so you can't put 8 on that arrow. But I think, unfortunately, 8 can go in 3 places there, so that's a bit disappointing. Okay. What does all that mean? I do not know. I suspect there's going to be something we can do in this box that's useful. I just don't know what that is. We've got 2s, 4s and 6s up there, because these are both even. We've only got 2 evens in box 2 at the moment, so there's definitely a 4 up here. Oh, nearly. Unfortunately, this can be a 4, otherwise I would have known there was a 4 in one of those 3 squares. This arrow, unfortunately, I think could be quite a low number. It can't be 9 or 8. But, I mean, could it be a 3 even? It may be possible for it to be a 3. That would be a 1, 2, 3 triple. Maybe. So we're probably going to have to do... Again, I'm not exactly sure where I'm meant to be looking now. I suspect it's this box. I suspect there's something we can do here that's going to be helpful. But what is it? That's the next question. Can we figure out where, if the 8 goes on the arrow, this is going to be 8, 1 with a 9. Is there anything wrong with that? That's going to force this to be a string of even digits. So these are both even, that will be even. And these would have to be 2 odd digits adding up to an even digit. But that all seems very plausible. That does seem all very plausible, doesn't it? What about if we were to put... If we put the 8 on the arrow and then we make the 8 the sum of even digits, so this would be 8, 2, 6. That would be 4. Oh, is that always even? Ah, is that the point? Is that the point? If so, there may be a more elegant way of me demonstrating this, but I think... Let me just check this. If this is a 9, this has to be a 1-8 pair. And that means that the even digits in this box are all strung out in those 3 squares. In other words, this arrow is double even, which means this is even. So case 1, this is even. Now if on the other hand, this is... Oh no, hang on. I think I'm getting myself in a muddle here. If this is not 9, this is 9. But that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't require... Yeah, what we need to do is to demonstrate that... Well, if yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. That is still okay, because if that's 9, I now can't put 8 on the arrow, so I have to put 8 in the circle. Now these 2 squares have to have the same parity. And if they have to have the same parity, that's going to complete either the even digits or the odd digits in the box, which means that these 2 have the same parity. And if they have the same parity, they add up to an even number. So that maybe is the point. This is even. I don't know, but that feels like it's a bit of a breakthrough. So these are odd. That can't be a 2, because you can't make double 1 on the arrow. So this is a 4 or a 6. If it's a 4, you've got to put 1, 3 on both of those limbs. If it's a 6, it's either going to be 2, 4 or 1, 5. 2, 4. Well, it's, okay, that's interesting. If it's 6, you can't put 2, 4 vertically because you've got too many even digits then. So that's 1, 5. What about here? Ah, yeah, okay. Okay. That is interesting. Yeah, okay, I want to look at this square and I want to investigate these digits. Now, if this is 4, this is definitely 1, 3. If this is 6, this seems to have at first blush 2 options. It could be 2, 4, or it could be 1, 5. Well, it can't be 2, 4. Because if it's 2, 4, that's now a 6 as well, and you get double 6 in the column. So this square here, we don't know what it is, but we do know that if it's 4, this is 1, 3, and if it's 6, this is 1, 5. So there's definitely a 1 in this domino. Now if this is 4, this is 1, 3, and if this is 6, you can't make these even. So again, there's a 1 in one of those 2 squares, and there's a 1 in one of these 2 squares. Now that means there's no 1 down there. Now, in fact, now I've figured it out, haven't I? Because I've got 2 odd digits here. So this is the 5th odd digit in the box. That's not 9. If that's not 9, you can't put 8 on the arrow. Good grief. I mean, it's just genius step after genius step. It's quite ridiculous. 2, 6 here means this is a 4. That's now a 6. That's now a 2. Oh my goodness. Am I away? Am I away? That is the question. I feel like I might be. orange is 2. So didn't 2 have to go with 3 to add up to 5? It did. It really did. I'm now doubting myself, but I really think that's true. That's a 6. So, yeah, okay, so that means that as blue has a 6 in it, there's a 6 in here. So this is 7, this is 5, this is a 2-3 pair, this is a 1-6 pair. The other blue is therefore a 1. These two squares are 1 and 7. Oh, 1 and 7. So I want the 1 retained in there. These two squares are 3 and 5. These two squares are 3 and 5. That means this square is a 7, which we can see is transposing down from here. Those two squares don't include 2. And we can now do other things, perhaps. I'm not sure. Okay. Okay. I keep staring at this column thinking, resolve yourself further, column. And unfortunately, the column is not listening to me. It's not revealing anything further, and it's being very, very naughty. This 1, though, that does give me a 1 there, so I slightly... Oh, in fact, look, the other thing is, of course, these are 1-5 pairs now, aren't they? So that's a 5. Oh, that is resolving things. Here we go. I'm off and running again. That we can get rid of 1s from those cells. Sorry, 3s from those cells. Therefore, we can get rid of 5s from those squares. 3 has to be in one of these 3 squares. If that's a 3, that's a 1-2 pair. Might be possible. What about if 9 is also in one of those 3 squares? Unfortunately, 9 could also go in here, obviously. 8's in one of those 3 cells. 7 is also in one of those 3 cells. Ooh, I think this feels like it's drying up, doesn't it, in terms of logic? 9 and 8 now mean that cell has got to be... It's got to be at least 5, and it can't be 8. So this is 5, 6, or 7. Which... Oh... that is interesting, because I've got an 8, 9 here. So where's 8 and 9 going in this box? You can't put 8 and 9 on the arrow anymore, because that's only got a maximum value of 7. So those 2 squares, I think, are an 8, 9 pair. Right, you can do a little trick now with 7, because now you can't put 7 on an arrow, because you can't put 7, 0 on an arrow. So there's a 7 in one of those, that becomes a 7, and that becomes a 3. So now there's a 3 on an arrow, which is probably not very surprising. We've got 1, 5, and 4 there. 5. Oh, okay. This can't be 5. Because how are we going to make that work? One of these arrows now needs to be a 1, 4 arrow. And you can't put 1 or 4 in either of those cells. So this is not 5. Might be the same with... Yeah, it's exactly the same with 6. If this is 6, one of these arrows is a 1, 5 arrow. Whichever one it is, you can't fill in this digit because of the 1, 5 pair. That's lovely. It's really lovely. So that is 7. This square is very restricted now, because it has to be less than 7. It can't be 1, 2, 4, or 5. In fact, there's a 7 here as well. That's 7. That's 1. So you can't put 1 on this arrow at all. Anyway, sorry, let's come back to this square. This square's got to be 3 or 6, and that square can't be 1. So that's not 3. Sorry, it's not 6. That's 3, that's 4. That's 3, that's 5. So this arrow, which can't be 1, 6, and it can't be 3, 4. That's 2, 5, and we can do it. 5 and 2 go in. This 4 is giving us the 4 and the 9. 4 must be in one of those cells. 9 up here is giving me my 9 and 8 down here. These squares are now known. They've got to be 6, 7 and 9. That's not 7. These squares are known. They're 1, 3 and 8, which is not helpful. Now we should be able to do a bit more, I guess. We've got 1, 6 here. We've got a 6 there. So 6, 1, 2, 4, 5. 2, 4, 5. That's not 5. Okay. Well, that definitely felt like progress. Can we do any more with these? This 5 and 7 are particularly useless, aren't they? They're really not doing much work at all. Right, let's have a look over the right-hand side. Maybe box 6 will help us. These 3 squares have got to be 1, 4 and 8. Well, that square definitely... yeah, okay, this is good. This square can't be 1, it's summing 2 digits. It actually can't be 4, because this would have to be a 1-3 pair. There's already a 1-3 pair looking at this square, so that's an 8. Which means that's not an 8. Now, if this is 8, it's not 2, 6. It's not 1, 7. So this is 3, 5, and there's a 3 here. Lovely. That's giving me a 5 and a 1. 5 is locked into one of 2 places, I think, in box 4 now. And these squares are a 1-4 pair, and we can do that. 1, 4 using this one. So that means 1 inhabits one of these cells. Those 2 squares there have got to be 2 and 6. So that's a 6 at the top, that's a 2 there. Those 2 squares are 7 and 9. Can't see how to resolve that immediately. This 3 is ruling itself out of this arrow. 1s, 6s. 6s are in one of those 3 squares. 5s are in one of those 2 squares. Okay. And we're getting to the point now where we've almost used all the clues, so it should just be Sudoku of all things. So it's this arrow that's going to resolve everything. Unless I've missed some fundamental Sudoku. Don't comment about how likely that is. I have been going at this for quite a while now. It's possible that my attention or my focus is lacking on the simple Sudoku tricks of the world. Let's look at this circle then. This square has got to be, it can't be 2 because you can't put double 1 in. It can't be 3. Can it be 4? No, it can't actually be 4 because you can't put 1 in either of those cells. So it's not 4, it's not 5, it's not 6, it's not 7. Oh, it's 9. Right, okay, this is why this arrow is here. This is just 9. Now, you can't put 4, 5 on the arrow. You can't put 1, 8 on the arrow. So this arrow is either... that places the 5 then. If you can't put 5 on the arrow, you've got to put 5 here. Which means this square is a 5. Now, this is either 6, 3 or 2, 7. And I don't know if we can resolve that. But if it's 6, 3, it's that way round. If it's 7, 2, it's that way round. Bobbins. Does that resolve it? I feel like we must have some sort of triple in this column, but it's not immediately jumping out of me that is true, I have to say. Right, I mean, you can do mad things here, actually, using this arrow. For example, that square can't be a 3. And the reason it can't be a 3 is that if it is a 3, because of the way it interacts with the mad arrow, that square's a 2. But if this is a 3, so's this square. So you'd have 2's in those squares. And now you can't put a 2 in either of those squares in box 7. So that's not a 3. But I admit that's not easy to see. I'm not even sure. Is that going to resolve the puzzle? Is that going to resolve the puzzle or not? Okay, I don't know is the answer. Wow, I can't see how it does. Okay, so where do we look now? What did this 2-3 thing do? Has that done some magic that I'm not appreciating? Quite possibly. It's going to be a long video, this. We're going to be over an hour, aren't we? And that's if I can solve it. I mean, I'm going to be disappointed if I can't solve it from here, because I feel like we've done so much work. But 1, 2, 4 and 7 into those squares. That can't be 1. That can't be 7. That can't be 2. I mean, this is just not getting reduced down enough, is it? About this column then. This column needs 2, 3, 4 and 6. 2, 3, 4 and 6. So that square is 2, 3 or 6. That square, this square's more interesting. That's just 3 or 4, I think. So now what I'm thinking is there some way I can interact things with this arrow and break the puzzle somehow? That's the challenge. That's the challenge, but I'm not immediately seeing anything. That doesn't mean there isn't anything, it just means that I'm not immediately seeing anything. If that's a 2, if that's a 2, that's a 3, and that's a 4, I think. 2 here forces 6, 3. Oh, that does break it, actually. That does break it for a reason I hadn't appreciated until I just realised I've got 3's pencil marked in this domino, in this box. That is really hard. If that's a 2, the point is that because that forces this to be a 3 and this to be a 4, now this domino is a 2-4 pair, and it's not got a 3 in it, and it needs to have a 3 in it because of this 3. So that's not a 2. So that means in this column, that square's got the only place 2 can go, and we're off and running again. We've got 2, 6 here. 6, 4 at the top. That's no longer a 4. Where does... here we go. Here we go. So that's now a 4. That's now a 3. Still not doing this arrow. Oh, you're kidding me. Come on. I've got a horrible feeling that there are some simpler ways of doing this, but I am still in the game, so we're going to carry on. 2, 7, 8, and it is very unsurprising in a totally normal cat video for me to feel completely stupid. So this is par for the course, and this square here, that's got to be 3, 7, 8, no, not 7, 3, 8 or 9. Whoops, 3, 8 or 9. Does that do anything for us? The answer is, I have no idea. is going to be something like, if this is a 3, you can't put a digit in this box, or something like that, or a Y-wing that I can't spot. If that's a 3, I can see that that's forcing a 2-3 domino here. Is there something wrong with a 2-3 domino there? Not immediately obvious to me what that is. Oh, no, there is. No, it's the same thing again. It is the same thing again. It's the same digit again. No, it's not. No, hang on. If that's a 3, that's a 7, and that's a 2. No, I have put a 3 in. That's okay. That's okay. Sorry, I was thinking I had a problem when I don't have a problem, and I actually wanted to have a problem, so that's not a good result. So, what else can we do then? Let's try and make this a 9. That's going to affect that digit. So if this is 9, that's 7, that's 3. And that's 6 then. Does that break that one? Oh god, it does. Wow. Okay, I tried to do it by breaking this with a 3. I can do it by breaking this with a 9. So look at what 9 does. It puts 7 here, and it puts 3 here. But 3 here, through this diagonal, has done more work than most of the digits in this puzzle put together. Because about 3 or 4 times I've had to use the interactions of this diagonal to force contradictions. But here we have a contradiction. That's 6, 9, that's got no fill. So this is all incorrect, and that's a good thing, perhaps, because it's going to place a 9 in this row. Once that's not 9, that's 9, that's 7. No. Please. Oh no, I've got a horrible feeling. Oh, this square's now, that's not a 2. I don't think that's ever been a 2. It doesn't actually make any difference at all, does it? So this 9 and this 7 have done what exactly? Is it literally nothing? I can't believe it. I'm going to have a fully pencil mark grid any moment now and still no idea about how to solve the puzzle. 5, 7. I'm now thinking I've probably missed simple Sudoku, and I'm forcing myself down ever decreasing circles of madness in trying to solve this. Right, let's have a look along here then. 9, 9. I've got to put a 9 in one of those cells. I can see that. But there's nothing wrong with that, is there? That looks... So 2, 6, 8, 9 into those squares. 2, 6, 8, 9. That's not 2. That seems to have the ability to be anything. There's definitely a 9 in this domino. And that, unfortunately, is not going to be enough for me to crack the puzzle. So there's going to be some other trick we've got to find. Now, I'm fast running out of things I can pull out from my sleeve. I think my sleeves are now empty. My hat has no longer got any doves in it. But I'm sure there's more we can do. And the thing we're going to do is... What do we think it should be? How does this diagonal do any more work? Surely it can't do more work, can it? So if that's a 2, that's forcing 6, 3, 8, 7. Oh, does that mean that, hang on, if that's a 2, did that force 7 there? That would be very good if it did. If that's a 2, that's a 6, 3, 8. That is a 7. That doesn't work. Okay, that's another way we can do it. So this is not a 2, because that forces this square to have no possible fill, I think. Let's just go through that. If that's a 2, this is a 6, this is a 3, and this is an 8, and now this square's a 7. and that square's got no possible value. So that is useful. And that means that square's an 8, that square's a 7, that square's a 2. Now hopefully now this will now crack, maybe. Get rid of 8s in there. This 7 is giving me a much more useful digit. There, 3, 8. Come on, puzzle. Give up now. Give up. You have put up the most mighty struggle. And I respect you greatly, but I would now like you to be solved. Now this is a 2. That 2 is giving me a 2 and a 4. That's not a 4. That 6 is giving me a 9 here, which is giving me a 4. That might be useful. 4, 1, 7, 4, 7, 6, 6, 1, 8, 1, 3, 9, 8. Yes. Oh my goodness me. That is so clever and so difficult. I cannot tell you. 1 hour, 6 minutes. So, were there bits of that where I was slow? Undoubtedly. And there may be points in which, I was particularly disappointed by not understanding the parity for so long up there. That took me a few moments to appreciate. But apart from that, every step is like, it's like Totally Normal Cat has hidden these clues in the puzzle that give you just enough. You can just turn the key a little tiny bit further. Not the whole way, just a tiny bit further each time. And each time you're doing this with the key. And the key is gradually going further and further until finally this arrow. This has done more work than many arrows in many puzzles combined. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it's made me fearful that I've missed some simple trick, but I had to use that arrow. I mean, it was at least 4 times, I think, to resolve things. And I apologise if there was a quicker way of doing it. I obviously didn't see it, but I did enjoy it, and it's been 67 minutes for me, delightfully spent in the company of an old friend. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.